Alright, we are back again. We turned the page. We are going to be working on the camber caster links here. Got my little dog huddling close to me. She thinks I'm going somewhere, so she does not like it when I leave. When I go out and play with the RCs, she gets a little upset about that. When I start messing around on camera, she starts getting in close thinking that I'm going to take off. Alright, so here we go. Camber caster. I need to find a bag of parts and get these plastic parts all laid out and start slapping this together. 1 second. And once again, there is no description as to what part bag you want to grab this from. Over on this page, it's starting to tell you what screws that you need and washers and nuts and whatnot. But that is for this page, not for this page. So once again, a little common sense. Check out all the bags of parts and try to find the one that fits best, which I think is this one, bag C33. So we'll crack this baby open and assemble these bad boys. Alright, have our parts laid out right here for the camber links. We're going to slap in these little ball joints or sockets or whatever. We're going to snap those into the shafts and start assembling these. I don't know if you can see it or not, but there's like a little teeny weeny line on this chunk of metal here, this threaded rod for the tie rod or for the camber links. And I'm not sure if that is supposed to be going in one direction or not, or if it matters or not. Just something to take in a note, I guess. I don't think it really matters which spot that's going in, but we'll start assembling this guy. We'll start with putting these plastic cups in, or these metal cups into the plastic links, and start threading them on. And apparently our total length is going to be right here. So we'll work it on that and get that put together real fast here. Alright, now as far as installing these little ball cups into the end links and what to use, I have my Robo Grips out here. I have a pair of angled needle nose pliers over here. Ultimately, I found the best thing to do was just to lay this out on the manual, put the link or put the tie rod plastic end over top of the cup, and then I'm going to take those needle nose pliers and just lay it over top of this, so it's spreading apart, or spreading over top of the hole, or spreading over that little sleeve here that's going to be popping through. And then while holding this, I just push down on my pliers and snap that into place using the paper. I was pushing on the paper so nothing was getting marred up in the process. As far as using pliers or something like that, there's really not a good spot to grip on here to force this into place, since this little sleeve is protruding out the other end. So you can't put your pliers right on top of it, because it's only going to go in part way and then stop, because it's obviously going to be hitting the pliers. So ultimately, you need to just kind of set it down on something and push this down over top of it relatively gently. Like I said, you do not want to mess up these links or mess up the cup or the socket or any of that good stuff. So back to the job at hand. We'll finish up this one and start assembling that part. Alright, so we are back briefly. I have one end threaded in. I started threading on this other end and was just spinning and spinning and spinning and spinning, and was like, man, why won't that thread on there? Well, that's a reverse thread on this other end. Normally, as everybody may well know, that it's when you're screwing something into something, it's usually considered, or a good rule of thumb is lefty-loosey, righty-tighty. These threads are very fine, very hard to see as far as general direction goes. So just to make sure, I took one of these and just pinched it between my finger and thumb, and then just basically with my other hand, started threading it in between my fingers to see which way it wanted to go. Since I was having a hard time with my 43-year-old eyes trying to see these threads on here because they're so fine. It is, one way when you turn it to the right, it does thread in. On the other hand, on the other side, it was the opposite. I had to spin it to the left to get it to spin in between my fingers. So one side on this threaded rod is a reverse thread, so keep that in mind. Another thing to keep in mind is when you're threading these into these plastic joints here, or these plastic links, make sure you put them in straight. They have a tendency to want to walk left or right. They kind of want to go in sideways, and you don't want it to start it. You don't want to thread it in there sideways and think that it's going to straighten itself out, because it's not going to straighten itself out. you definitely want to get it straight from the first time. So we'll, that note being said, I'll finish putting this guy together. And back to where I was talking about with one of these having a line on one edge of it. The side that has the line on it is the right hand thread, which is this side. This other side that doesn't have, where the line is further away from it, is the left hand thread. So as far as these tie rod links go, or studs, or whatever you want to call them, the one that has the line on it, which is on the right hand side here, that is the right hand thread. Other side is left hand. And we're back, and we have both of those together. I laid them out over top of the little drawing there. They seem to be pretty even with that. I laid them on top of each other as best I could, and they both seem to be relatively equal. So we will call that step good, and we will go on to the next step after I move some of this stuff out of the way, which is attaching these camber links up to the front drivetrain. So let's grab the front drivetrain, lay it on a piece of paper here, and start assembling that little mess of goodies. Okay, so we are back. Now the instructions tell you that you're going to need 2 of these M3 16mm screws, 1 of these M3 lock nuts, and 2 of these washers. In reality, they don't mention anything about these little tapered screws that have this little flat spot on the edge here, and you're going to need 4 of those. You're actually going to need 4 of these screws, 2 nuts, and both of these washers along with those screws. Like I said, they don't mention it in the manual, but obviously you're using those old tapered screws right here in this picture. You're using the 16 mil screw with the lock nut right here at the top of the where the camber link is hooked to. And same on the other side. They don't show you the assembly on the other side. That wasn't on a previous page. We just jumped from this page to this page. So obviously they must want you to just figure that out on your own, which is kind of weird that they're not showing it to you, because so far the manual's been showing you everything step by step. So it's kind of weird that they already have this side assembled. Regardless, we are going to grab all this hardware and start slapping these links on. And drivetrain parts. Proper terminology, yes, I know. And we're back, and just like the manual, I finished up this side off camera. This side I left somewhat loose. I put these 2 lower tapered screws into place. They only have threads on the part of the shaft that's going into the A-arm here. The other part right there is smooth, where it's fitting into the bottom half of this joint. As far as the upper camber link, they want you to put it in the second hole back here, from what I deciphered in the manual. They don't tell you what direction to put these rods in, but if you look very closely on the picture, you're not going to see it on camera. I actually had to use a flashlight to look at this. They've got the fine line at the top up here on this side. And on this one, once again, you have to look at it with a flashlight. They have the fine line further down with the drivetrain, so they're both going in the same direction. They're both going this way. So I did that with this one here, which you're probably not going to be able to see, but the line is on this side, and same here, the line is going that way. I'd imagine they have it like that, so if you're adjusting things, you're going in the same direction versus, turning away on this one and then thinking that, you got to spin this one backwards the opposite direction and end up, moving it the wrong way. So I'm sure they have them all going in one direction, so when you are adjusting things, it's a little bit more uniform. Alrighty, so we will finish assembling this, just tightening down these screws. One thing I don't like is that they have these washers on the end of these links. It kind of looks a little rough, I don't really like the way that looks. Ultimately, I may dig around through some trail finder parts or something, or some older RC screws, and seeing if I can find a screw that actually has like a washer built into the screw to eliminate this washer here. Either that, or I'm going to bust out the black paint marker and just paint that black. I know it won't last, but at least it'll look a little cleaner. Alright, so I'm going to button this up off camera, finish tightening down all these screws. These do have lock nuts on the back. It is countersunk. Just FYI on that. And be careful when you're assembling all these, because these little hubs will just fall right off. So you got to keep an eye on them as you're moving all this stuff around. You know, don't just wing this around. You know, if you wing it, just kind of spin it around, the centrifugal force is just going to pull that little guy right off of there. And I almost lost one of those pins. It fell into the bottomless pit of the floor, hit the floor, and, you know, like I said in another video, kind of slipped into another dimension. It took me a few minutes to find it. So, alright, I'll finish buttoning this up and then we will turn the page. Alright, all assembled, and we are turning the page here. Now, and I apologize for the way that I've uploaded these videos, you know, by putting them all up at once, more or less. If I wasn't filming with my cell phone, if I had like an actual video camera with a couple of different, you know, memory cards, and if I had an actual computer, I mean, I don't have a computer. I don't have a laptop. I don't have a regular house computer or anything like that. Only computer I really have is my cell phone or my Xbox. I have an Xbox One and an Xbox 360. That is the closest thing I have to a computer. So nevertheless, if I actually had a computer and an actual camera with, you know, different memory cards, I could record a video, pull the memory card out, put in another memory card, upload that video while I'm working on, you know, making another video. But as it is, I'm just recording all these videos in succession in one day, you know, one day at a time. Obviously, the first series of videos were recorded in one day. The second series of videos that I'm working on right now I started recording yesterday on Friday, and I'm continuing here on Saturday morning. So that is the reason that the videos are being uploaded all at once, basically, instead of one at a time, or, you know, in succession or whatever. So once again, I apologize for that, and that is just because, like I said, I don't have a computer, using my cell phone for everything. So that's also what I use for watching YouTube videos primarily, is my cell phone. And it's really not even that good of a cell phone. It's a Samsung GL360p, like a Galaxy 3 Prevail. So it's a relatively old cell phone. So recording in 720p. Alright guys, now that all being said, which was probably unnecessary, but I thought it was necessary. This one actually tells you what bag to go to. Bag C4, they tell you need 2 lock nuts, and I'm not sure if that is a bearing or a spacer, a 3x6 by 2.5 millimeter. That might be a bearing. I am not too sure, but we will find out. We'll dig up bag C4. This is the front suspension rocker installation in a few different languages. And then after that, we're going to be going to the front pushrod assembly. Right there. Alright, so let me hit the pause button, dig up all these the cantilever parts and pins and what have you, and start laying all that out. Alright, so we just dug up bag C4, which was just in the general big bag C. And there appears to be many things in here. This looks like the mount for the cantilevers, front bumper. There's a couple of little cantilevers. And in the back, half of it, you can see that it has a few other parts bags contained within it. So we will hit the pause button and open that guy up. And we are back. So we opened up main bag C, and then we got bag C4 out and pulled out these 2 brackets. And then we pulled out of that bag C41, which had a bunch of hardware in it. These links, the rods, the ball joints, and a bunch of bearings, or a couple of bearings. Now we go back to the page here where we're assembling all of this stuff here. And they obviously tell you that you need 2 of these nuts and 2 of these bearings, but they don't tell you that you need these posts. They aren't listed anywhere on this page. They are not listed anywhere on the next page. But obviously you do need to use those. And these little cantilever rockers are directional, and there is a little L and an R on the back half of these. You can't see it on this side, but it is on that side. You see a little L on there. And the corresponding R. just to keep in mind. So we're going to put these little posts into place on the axle, which is around here somewhere. Here's the axle, and the posts are sliding into right here, these little angled pieces. So we'll go ahead and start assembling these posts. And since that has that little slash mark on it, I'm assuming that they want that just snug. I don't think they want you to over tighten that. And we are back, and I had to go back in the manual just to reassure that that says to snug it down and not to over tighten it, and that's what it means by the slash marks. I just wanted to make sure so I wasn't giving you guys some wrong information on that. So that is correct. I did put the posts in. I started putting those in by hand, and then I finished tightening them down with an old school Tamiya box wrench. The Vaterra does provide a box wrench for you. It's kind of tinny, in my opinion. It's I don't know if it's as good a quality as the Tamiya one, but it is a different size than the Tamiya. The biggest socket on here is a lot larger than the Tamiya. This is the size of the largest socket on the Tamiya wrench, so it is a little bit different. But like I said, I would have been using this end on it, the smaller end. As far as using the Tamiya wrench, I had to use the larger end on it, but it did fit down over top of it without a problem. Fits on there nice, and I just finished snugging these up with the Tamiya wrench. Alright, so next step at hand is to install the bearings and then install this. Now obviously you need 4 bearings here, and yep, that's my bad. They did say 4 bearings here, so that is my problem. And my phone battery just started to go low, so now we have no flash. So I'm gonna hit pause here and throw this baby on the charger. Yep, the joys of doing it with a cell phone. Thanks for watching, guys, and I will be right back here in a second after I hit this pause button. Alright, slight intermission there. You like my flash? I'm using a flashlight. Alright, so I installed the 2 bearings onto those posts, and now we're going to rest these little cantilever brackets on top, and slip in the other 2 bearings, and then slap on those lock nuts. And since I can't hold the camera and the flashlight at the same time, I'm going to have to put one down. And this part is going through the big hole on this bracket, which isn't a bracket, it's the cantilever arm. And you got to push it down a little bit just to make sure it's slipping into the bearing. And same with the other half here. Sorry about that. I panned down there because I was looking for the part. I looked with my eyes, and apparently I looked with my hand too, and the phone. Alright, so that is installed. Now it's just a matter of putting these other bearings on, which are going on top. Sorry for the dimness. And I'm using my left hand for doing all this stuff, and I am right-handed. So it just adds to the adventure. Alright, now it's just a matter of these lock nuts. We'll put those on here. Just barely threading them on. Alright, now I'm going to hit the pause button one more time and grab the wrench and do some snugging here. And we are back. Alright, so off camera, I removed these rockers. I pressed the bearings in with my fingers just to make sure that they were seated properly. Put the lock nuts back on. You do not want to over tighten those, you just kind of want to snug them down. I just snugged them down to the point where these, the cantilever actually wasn't moving, so I loosened it up, just backed it off a pinch, just to make sure that I had free play on the cantilevers. Alright, so we're going to be moving on to our next page. Gotta love the flash, huh? It just adds to the fun. Alright, guys. So we're going to start putting this together. I'm going to end the video here because I do have my phone plugged in, but it will not let me access my flash to turn that back on. So I'm going to have to end the video so I can access the settings in order to turn that flash back on. So thanks for watching this portion of the video, guys, and I will be back in a minute. And once again, thank all the viewers. I'd like to thank all the viewers. I appreciate your views very much. You don't have to click the like button, but if you do, I would greatly appreciate it. And yeah, new viewers, old viewers, thanks very much, guys. I appreciate all your comments. I love hearing the stories. Whole 9 yards. Keep them coming. I am here and I love it. All right, and we will be back in shortly here, a couple minutes, and we'll see you here in a moment. Thanks again for watching, everybody. We'll see you.